So, yesterday we went to Reading, 155 miles away, to pick up a Fidelity UA8 record player that I bought off eBay. What's nice about it is that the gentleman has owned it from new and he's now 60, pretty similar to me. And it's nice when they've been owned by new and have not been messed with, and also come with the original instruction book and all that kind of blurb. So you know what, I mean, I was an ex-HMV dealer. Obviously these days, since 1985, I've been involved in two-way radio. But as a kid, I always fancied an MC3 music centre from Fidelity. I think they were $109.95 at the right price. Now this isn't a music centre, it's record player only. My sister went to university, she's 3 years older than me, and she had a UA4, one of those white Fidelity record players with the separate speakers, and that worked fine. They were cheap and cheerful, but they were made in Britain, and you know, by today's standards, they're like Rolls Royces, aren't they? So we're going to do an overhaul on this, and I think he says it's got a seized turntable, which is to be expected. Didn't realise Simon, who was assisting me today, taking the dust cover off, but we've got the dust cover and it's perfect. So the instruction book, it's also come with a bonus Hitachi one for a cassette tape recorder. So we've got the instruction book and we've got the information on the P207 record deck from BSR. You've got things like the pin out to the DIN socket, so you can solder your own plugs up if you wanted to do so. How to do the tracking. The specification is 8 watts per channel RMS. That's something I always remember about it, but I never had one come into the shop. As I still were HMV dealers, we would get the odd Fidelity items coming in. So the first thing to do, because he's told us the thing is seized, is to take this decal thing off. And normally we have some kind of tools for that, but we'll probably use the... I don't want to mar the finish. So I did manage to push the rubbery bits and get the test. So we need to get the circlip off. And hopefully get the platter off. Hey! Now I've not seen one of these before, so I don't have specific training for this, but it's the same, but it's got a plastic thingy-ma-flop, so take that off. And hopefully that will pull upwards. You see, you can't apply heat to that, can you, with it being plastic? At least it's a metal turntable, which is nice. So take the idler off. So it's exactly the same procedure as any of the others. There's going to be a thrust washer, top and bottom there is. Right, I'll go and get some materials. I don't know whether they come out. Simon thinks they might, but I'm not sure. I'd have to look at the specific service manual, which I'd have to dig out.
It's just got wedged because the grease is dried.
Right, now I'm back into record. So take that off. Just getting this grease off. I don't need to actually use a degreaser like isopropyl alcohol on most of this because it wants lubricating anyway, so I'm going to just use it WD-40 to kind of help stop it. Absolutely no idea. And I want the oil. So we do have grease, as you know, and I'll go and fetch it to do some things, but not for that bit. Good, so I've done that. We're going to get isopropyl on the motor spindle, and we need to deal with this. So put that in there, and that. It's not quite seized solid, but it's far from ideal. Now this is different arrangement. You know what, I think we'll put this in my ultrasonic cleaner. as one unit. Okay, so this is now being in the ultrasonic cleaner with isopropyl alcohol. Just dry it off a little bit. I meant to get the grease. I will have to go and get the grease. So that, without having to remove the individual leaves, because I think that's just some kind of press fit thing, is now nice and clean. So we'll pause the camcorder once again and I'll go and get the grease, I forgot. So we'll plonk this back into operation. I've put now grease on the tracks and hopefully we can get that to go in. But sometimes we can't, can we? It's gone in. Excellent. Well done. So we need to put the circlip back on. Of course, it goes without saying that the memory card ran out in the camcorder, and we did put some more parts back and we have tested it and it's running. So I think we've done that. We'll find out in editing. Put the idler back on and put some motor down. Put some oil down the motor shaft. That's what I did. So meanwhile, I dug out the service sheet for it, and it's on ERT2163. Here's a photocopy I did at Sheffield Library back in the 80s when I was going every month to do so many that I needed. And then when they hadn't got them, because they do have one or two gaps in their ERT and trader sheet collection, Birmingham Library also have ERT and trader service sheets. So I was able to complete the collection between originals and photocopies, spending 10 pence per photocopy. And when you actually look at the IC which it uses, which is TCA 940, remember this purports to be 8 watts per channel. When we look at it, it says it's 8 watts per channel. So I looked at the data sheet from SGS Thomson, and the data sheet says that the TCA 940 in certain configurations is 10 watts per channel RMS. So it's true. So we're so used to BS, aren't we? We are, where things say they're 60 watts output and they turn out to be 800 milliwatts. So this is something which is true. So dismantling is what we now have in the instructions. Dismantling, disconnect the unit from the mains. Simon, you can disconnect the unit from the mains. Fit a stylus guard and lock the arm into position. Well, we haven't got a stylus guard. Unscrew the transit screws to lock down the turntable. The bottom must be removed. And then you take off the slider control knobs. They don't call me fingers for nothing. So taking those off, we'll put those in a little box we've got here. And we need to lock down the mechanism. And then we've got a mega thick blanket which we will put on here, and we'll see you in a moment. Okay, so with the bottom off, we'd forgotten to unscrew the retaining nut for the headphone socket so it didn't come out. So there's 4 screws in this screen box for the mains transformer, and there's 3 screws in the printed circuit board. What I'm now expecting to be able to do is to just lift it out. We've unclamped the mains lead. I'm just expecting to lift it out and move it sideways. There we go. We'll be able to vacuum the crud out of there.
Quite clean anyway.
So we're going to change all the electrolytic capacitors. It's about 1978, so it's time for that to happen. That's probably going to have to be ordered, and that might put a delay on being able to do this video. So we're going to look at the service sheet, see what the valves are supposed to do, and get on with that right away. So although we know it works, because we've actually had it running, because we're going to be selling this on, I need it to be absolutely spot on. Okay, we've done all the capacitors apart from one. So in this position, there was an axial 3300 microfarad. We haven't got a 3300 microfarad, I've ordered one. But just so we can get this video out, I'm going to temporarily put a 2200 in, so there's a possibility there may be a hum. So the capacitor is where? It's positive to the bottom. And you can see this corrosion just here. Now I tested that capacitor with the P-Catalyst ESR meter and it read alright, but the fact is it's leaking, so it's obviously not alright. So we'll just take this back to where we were and put that part in. So that's the final one to change. There and there. So we're just going to temporarily put this in. Right folks, well that's it back together. So I've only put half the screws in the chassis which contains the transformer. I've put them all back in the printed circuit because it needs that support. So now we'll be able to try it, and if there's a hum, well that 2200 is inadequate and it is on order. But I just wanted to get the video out. So we'll not put the bottom on and we'll turn it over. And as I take that, you can take that. There we go. Take that back off. And if you'd like to plug that in the speakers. We'll do our usual thing and we'll use our cassette tape to do the test.
That's just down there.
Right.
I think it's got the lead with it as well, for the audio.
You know what, I bet if our disco test speakers had DIN plugs on, I bet they'd sound really good, whereas these aren't likely to sound that good. So we know the record deck works. Not as I've shown you the viewers that. You can plug that in.
Yep, that's why I'm just moving that.
And I'll plug this so we can get that plugged into the DIN socket. Good. So we've got our usual cassette thing. Let's switch it on.
Is it? Yeah, I just.
Oh, it wasn't plugged in. Try again.
That's it. It's plugged in both ends.
And we've got a slight hum, just like we did. I haven't cleaned those, so I haven't cleaned those controls. I don't want to chase the grease out, but we will. We're going to vacuum them, the dust out of them. I just want to see whether we're sounding something right. I pressed the wrong button. Good for you. Right, well that's absolutely fine. So we'll just put the platter back on for a moment wherever I put it, it's there. There's some adjustments I want to make.
Don't forget the transit screws are fastened in.
Yes, that's the point. Let's use that one. There's actually quite some wear on these transit screws, which means at least when he's transported it, he's taken that into consideration. Good. So we wanted to. Yes, one of the things we'd got, we wasn't putting down in the right place. Do you know which adjustment it is without me looking at the service manual?
It is. It's this little thumb screw on the back of the pickup arm here, just under this side of where the counterbalance is.
And it's
that one just there.
That?
No, this one here,
No.
look, Richard. This one here, which has got a spring on the end of it.
That one?
Yeah.
So it wants to come out, so it needs to go in.
It needs to go in slightly to pull the arm back.
Got you.
Towards the rest.
Right, I'll get a 10-inch record. Because he's always supposed to set them up with a 10-inch record. So select 10-inch, 33. We'll probably cycle because it's been in bits. And see whether it goes in the right position. It's just needs that little bit more.
That tiny bit more.
And we haven't done the queuing lever, which does need looking at.
That needs that screw under there adjusting up so it
Just
lifts
that
slightly
fact.
higher. At least they're easy to adjust, those turntables.
Try again.
Sticking a bit.
Well, I'll need to run it, and we haven't done.
Oh, it's gone all rough. Has the stylus gone? Well, is that what we found underneath it? We found something rattling around inside it, didn't we?
We did. I'll just go for the other side. I can feel there's a stylus in there. I still need to back that.
I don't know, I can't see any stylus shunt there, Richard. I reckon it's probably dropped off. Is it? Oh, the bugger's dropped off, hasn't it?
Okay, so we don't have a stylus anymore.
Fell apart.
Well, that was a good video, wasn't it? So this is now part 1. So we'll come back to this another day when we've ordered a new stylus. So there you are. That's getting somewhere with the Fidelity UA8. All the capacitors changed, sounding great on the cassette. And we'll just look into these speakers as when we start part 2. I'm going to think they're going to be a single unit. And this is one of those items where the quality of the amplifier seems to be greatly better than the quality of the speakers they came with it. And I think what we'll do, we'll get some 2-pin DIN plugs put on the end of our little disco speakers we use for tests. And in part 2, we'll try it with the disco speakers. So there we go, we're getting somewhere with it. Thanks for watching the part 1 of the Fidelity UA8 from 1978.